welcome. I'm Alex Barker, founder of the Happy Farm D, and today we are learning about the investigational drug services as a pharmacist. Today we are joined by Alex Vondracek, who used to be a clinical pharmacist, but now is in a completely new field, brand new, and we're going to talk about his journey going from clinical pharmacist to into the role he's in now. Hey, Alex.
Hey, Alex. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks for joining me all the way down in sunny Florida. Not saying that because I'm jealous. How are you doing today?
Doing well. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. So I think this is a very uncommon field. I don't think anyone looks this up as a keyword term. Did you even know about investigational drug services before you worked with us?
So yeah, I did. I had a little bit of exposure through my work as a clinical pharmacist in oncology. So there's of course overlap there with oncology service lines and investigational drug service lines, but I really didn't fully immerse myself in a full-time role in investigational drug, and I really enjoyed it. And this opportunity came about, and I jumped in all the way, and it's been an amazing journey. It's been great so far.
Awesome. Yeah, I can't wait to talk about the journey because where you were previously is like, yeah, I remember talking to you like over 6 months ago, and I just remember your energy, not where you're at right now. But we'll get to it. So for those people that have never heard of this before, like how would you explain IDS to people?
Yeah, so really it still incorporates a lot of traditional pharmacy practice type of things. So there's still dispensing involved, there's still checks involved, checks and balances, but there is a significant amount of regulatory and oh, clinical aspects of care that you wouldn't really necessarily see in mainstream clinical pharmacy jobs. So, for instance, we are reviewing protocols every single day. We're ensuring that all regulations are followed through FDA and sponsor guidelines. And we have constant communication with drug companies and sponsors. And really, our job is to ensure compliance within the protocol, compliance within IRB specific outlined requirements, as well as ensuring that continuity between research and clinical care. So we are really the bridge to compliance when it comes to ensuring that the patient gets the right drug within a compliant manner. So yeah, it's really intense without going in a significant amount of detail.
Well, I was going to say it sounds like clinical pharmacy, but with more paperwork.
Yeah, there's a lot of administrative aspects, but and you can feel free to ask me more questions about this, but there's actually a lot of technological advancements that have helped decrease the administrative burden, so which has been really nice.
Nice. For those that may be in clinical pharmacy or heck, even retail pharmacy, how would you describe this as different? Because I know in your previous role you were doing a lot. I remember you jumping on calls and you would be like in an IV room.
Yeah, I definitely wore multiple different hats.
Yeah.
For sure.
So how is this role different from what you've done in the past?
Really, to be honest with you, it's regulatory. It's a mix of regulatory affairs. Like I said, onboarding, working with trial sponsors, working with principal investigators to onboard studies within an institution. And there were aspects of that in my previous job, but it's more in depth and it takes up more of my time. So there are clinical aspects involved, and it has to do within the realm of the protocol. And like I said, ensuring that continuity between research and clinical care. So we're really that bridge, and I get to place 100% of my focus on that instead of primarily just dispensing or primarily uh, doing standard of care type things. So we're really in depth into the cutting edge types of research and development. I specifically work with immunotherapies, T cell and engager therapies, really highly advanced therapies that we actually have our own cellular therapy department that we work in close coordination with within the TCI ICE-T program. So yeah, it's certainly more specialized, and it's more niche.
What has been some of the more enjoyable aspects to you? Because it sounds like you got to do a little bit of this work as a clinician, but now you're more focused. Um, how how have you enjoyed the work? I would say, and what is the most enjoyable aspects of it?
Yeah, so right now I'm really in the learning stages of trying to understand how the organization I work for, uh, what the workflow looks like. So I'm working and establishing an understanding of what that looks like. But really, I feel instead of wearing multiple hats, I feel uh, very tied to my role, and I know what my purpose is. And to me, that was big because at my previous role, I was again when I was wearing multiple hats. I was trying to have to manage multiple jobs, by being one singular person, and that was very difficult for me. So in this job, I'm able to focus on my role and doing the best possible job that I can. And I enjoy what I do. I enjoy being at the cutting edge of cellular therapy research, which I think is the wave of the future in oncologic care. But that aside, it's just ultimately finding a purpose. And I really strongly believe that I found that and
Mm.
being able to focus on that purpose instead of having to focus on 20 million things at once.
Mhm. Yeah, you've subtly mentioned it, but the most there about what you were doing previously. And I remember watching you and listening to you talk about the pressure of what you were doing in your last job. Um, and it's, if I recall correctly, like that was the main motivation to find something else. Like you were given a job to do, but you were given a lot of, I don't want to say impossible tasks, but a lot of tasks that put not just pressure on you, but the feeling of like this is destined to fail. I remember that feeling quite a bit with you.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to preface my answer by stating that I really do think that organizations' intents are good. I really do think that they want to provide the highest level of care possible for their patients. Um, but I think it goes back to a situation, especially being in my previous role and having exposure to managerial type things, understanding where pharmacy is relative to um, being looked at as a cost center and not necessarily a strong ROI perspective. In oncology, it's a little bit different because we can upcharge for our drugs. There's a lot of different things that we can do to generate revenue, but clinical services, as you very well know, are very difficult to generate revenue from. So that doesn't really put us in a very good position when we're trying to advocate for additional FTEs and additional roles. So organizations, especially within oncologic care that I can speak to, those service lines are growing precipitously. There's new therapies that you have to keep on top of. You have to help implement. We, at my previous organization, went through an EHR change from Meditech to Epic. So being a part of that onboarding process, all while doing that while being one person. And there again, there's financial aspects to that in terms of trying to advocate for FTEs, but it really definitely did place a burden on me personally in terms of my ability to be able to feel like I was doing the best possible job that I could, because when I go in a job and I do want to, and I'm tasked with doing something, I want to give it 100% all the time. And I didn't feel like I could do that, and it was wearing on me very, very significantly. And
Yeah,
that's
how
ultimately,
long did you have that pressure?
it was about 3 years. Yeah. And I can tell you that it significantly deteriorated my physical and mental health. And I was bringing a lot of my stress home, and it wasn't fair to me. It wasn't fair to my wife. And that was when I decided that I needed to change. And when I looked myself in the mirror and ultimately said, Alex, you can't continue like this. You're not happy. Your family's not happy. You have an obligation to yourself and your family to make this better. And that's when I reached out to Happy Farm D, and the rest is history.
Well, we gotta talk through that journey first. But
Yeah.
what I wanted to know, how did your wife or your partner, I'm sorry, responded to the pressure? Because um, your partner isn't a healthcare practitioner, right?
No, she's not.
So
Yeah.
you don't know exactly like they sometimes partners can like they get it, but at the same time they don't. They're supportive. How was your spouse in all of this? Because it sometimes feels like a catch-22 with pharmacists. Like you're making really good money. Often pharmacists in the relationship are the major breadwinner, and you become accustomed to living in this lifestyle of how much you make, and you get used to the golden handcuffs, and at some point the handcuffs become so heavy that it's like, is this gold worth it? um, how did your spouse react to all of this? Like, was she fed up with it, or was she like, oh, just keep trying?
So I'm very blessed to have a really wonderful partner in my life. And she had been supportive through all of my endeavors, even
And
prior to
she's
this
watching
time.
this right now, by the way.
Oh, absolutely, 100%. But no, in all truthfulness, I couldn't have been able to go on this journey without her. And she's been my rock, and she has been my guiding light, and she's been my partner and by my side through every step of this journey. In all seriousness, and I have been and I had always been in constant communication with her, letting her know how I feel coming home. And again, like you said, that's a catch-22, because you're bringing that stress home. Sometimes it doesn't sound like you're not always positive in what you're explaining, because you're bringing in home a lot of frustrations. There were a lot of really wonderful wins that we accomplished at my previous place of employment, but there was a lot of stress that I brought home, and she really helped me in making decisions that ultimately impacted where I am today. So she didn't understand the stress and things that I was going through, because she didn't live it as a healthcare professional, but she understood it from me being a person, and to me that was more important than anything else. Um, and I couldn't have done it without her.
Beautiful. Um, so you went through this stress for like 3 years. During that time, did you ever consider or start looking for like a new job?
I did, yeah. So I was actually looking locally, and when I was looking locally, there were jobs that were, I would say, they were tempting, especially when you were in a situation that you really didn't feel comfortable in. And your initial feeling is, I want to get out of this. I don't want to be a part of this anymore. See, it's really fight or flight at that point. But I really wanted to stay grounded, and I didn't just want to take anything just for the sake of taking it. I really wanted to work through the process and try and find something that I was going to be happy. Because what would have been worse than going from one unhappy job to the next? So trying to go through the process and really understanding what each job entailed was really important to me. So I, during interviews and during those processes, I was really diligent in asking questions about what I didn't want and what organizational culture was like, and trying to really get them to explain uh, what it was they were looking for. Because, like I said, the worst thing that could have possibly been or possibly happened to me was going from one bad situation to a next or to another, and I didn't want to do that. So it
Caught
was,
fire.
I didn't, I wasn't very successful in being able to find another job that really checked all those boxes of things that I wanted, and that was really important to me.
Yeah. Yeah, which is, I mean, what we kind of worked on with you, right? It's the whole
Yes.
with the program.
Yep.
So you worked with us. You started in January, I believe.
January. Yep.
Yeah. So you start work with us in January. One of the first things that we do is get really clear about where you wanted to go next. It sounded, based on what you shared, like you were very clear about the kind of company. Were you clear about the kind of work, though, or the path that you wanted to follow?
No, no. To be honest with you, I was at that point, I was open to anything. I knew I wanted to stay within oncology because I'd spent so much time and effort, and it's a service line and a specialty that I really enjoy. And but in terms of what route I wanted to go, I wasn't sure if I wanted to stay in clinical. I wasn't sure if I wanted to get into managerial. I wasn't sure if I wanted to get into or stay in operations. And I also wasn't truly familiar with what other opportunities were out there outside of those three realms. So, yeah, that was one thing that the HPD program really helped me with, was really understanding what other options were out there outside of just the mainstream ones that we would just regularly think of.
Yeah, how did your coach help you? I believe you worked with Liz. What did that process look like for you to narrow it
Uh,
down to something you would actually enjoy?
yeah, so really, it started with a very um, oh, I don't want to say intense. Intense is not the right word, but it was a very
No, it's okay. We make you work out. Yeah, no, it's fine.
yeah, just a little bit. Just sitting there with 25-pound weights doing curls uh, while you're talking to your coach. No, we started with really trying to get to know who I am as a person and what my goals are and how really what type of jobs would ultimately fit my characteristics and my profile. And that was really helpful for me personally because I wasn't sure again, like am I truly a good manager? Am I truly a good operations type of guy? I felt like I was really good and felt comfortable with my clinical competency. But we went through a series of tests and a series of discussions trying to figure out who I am as a professional and where my strengths lie because and where my interests lie as well. And really tying that into and really aligning that with what potential opportunities are out there. So we started with the profiling and really trying to get to know who I am as a professional and as a person and where my interests lie. And that led to searching for those specific opportunities. And one of them was actually operations and managerial type of work and working at a high level. And really that's really what I do right now is working in operations and regulatory. There's a overlap with regulatory affairs and other things as well. But that was very exciting for me, and I really do believe that this is my calling. I really enjoy this.
That's so encouraging to hear. I know that some. I'm. It's okay if you didn't have this happen, but when you were going through the pain of your previous role, did you feel at all like throwing the baby out with the bathwater? Like I'm done with pharmacy. I'm done with this profession. Like did you even consider looking outside of the profession? Like, was that a part of the equation before working with a coach?
Don't tell Liz this, but yes, absolutely. um, no, but no. In all seriousness, I did let her know that I had been considering just washing my hands of pharmacy in general, and because like I said, I in constant communication with my partner, really looking in the mirror and understanding how I felt mentally and physically. I wasn't sure that I could continue to do this for another 25 years, and that was really discouraging to me. I mean, you know as well as I do, going through the grind of pharmacy school, going through the training. It's you put a lot of time, effort, and financial effort into getting this degree, and it was really, really difficult. Coming out in this position, working in it in 10 years, and looking at myself in the mirror and thinking to myself, "Is this it? Like, is this what it's going to feel like for the remainder of my career?" And I didn't want to have to face that anymore. And yeah, it was scary. It was a really scary thing to think about, especially because with how much time, effort, and financial effort I put into my training. And yeah, it was really, I definitely did cross my mind multiple times because I did. There were times I felt hopeless.
Well, you found that spark through working with a coach and narrowing down to like the activities that you actually enjoy. This is really common. Uh, this is actually an event we're going to be doing in a week and a half on June 23rd through the 26th. If you're watching this live, I'll talk about it later. But you did your own work, you figured out some paths. The next stage that we like to talk about is what we call trailblazing. You started networking, which is like the evil word, I feel like, in pharmacy. You start branding yourself, putting like a better application out there. What was that process like for you when it came to like building relationships and thinking about how you presented yourself to companies?
I would say that naturally I'm a type of person that loves to talk. If you were to ask my wife if we were to go to an event or go to something, she can't get me to stop talking to people. I just love to meet people. I love to talk. So, but at the same time, in regards to, I would say, lifting myself up and stating my accomplishments, I'm not the type of person that likes to put that out there. So I'm very, um, I've done a lot of hard work. I've done a lot of great things, but at the same time, I don't like to boast about them. So that talking to people, I love to do. That's not hard. It was the ultimately trying to figure out how can I market myself with my accomplishments, because I don't like to walk into a room and brag about what I've done, and that's kind of how I felt at first when I was trying to market myself, because I like to be a genuine person. I like to approach everybody as if nobody is more important than anybody else. We're all people. We're all human beings. And that's the mindset that I have.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, it was really difficult for me to really market myself and put those things out there. But I changed my mindset a little bit. And what I mean by that is you're not really necessarily boasting. You're changing, you're marketing yourself and trying to say, this is how I can help you with my experiences of the things that I've done. And that sounds less like boasting and bragging than it does being helpful and being an asset.
Yeah,
And being able to change that mindset was really important for me.
a
Um,
very common mental switch that we coach people through is instead of begging or asking for a job, just ask, how can I help?
mhm.
Um, I've got a great local friend here who is a mechanic, and he that's his, it's his day job. It's actually his business. He's a small engine mechanic, and that's his approach. And we've paid him to help us with small engine stuff because he was willing to help me out a long time ago. Like, he just let me borrow his chainsaw. Like, when you have that approach of wanting to help someone else, it no longer becomes uh, oh, I fix thousands of machines every year. It's more like, this is what I do for a living. Let me help you.
Yes,
Um,
100%.
how did that mental switch change your presentation and how you reached out and built relationships?
So really, I maintain the same type of relationship building that I always try to do, just having genuine conversations with people, trying to get to know individuals, and then segueing that into, because it's always hard and it's difficult too sometimes to ask people like, hey, what do you do for a living? What's your job? Because I don't know, there's when let me backtrack a little bit. I don't want to say it's a pet peeve of mine, but I don't think it really, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but maybe it sometimes feels comfortable when you go up to ask somebody, or meet somebody, one of the first questions that people will often ask is, well, what do you do for a living?
Yeah.
And not necessarily like, hey, what type of person you are, like what type, like looking at your personal, like asking about your personal life, asking about things that you enjoy doing outside of just your job and your work. So that was, yeah. So trying to phrase it around and looking around, hey, this isn't just a job, it's you as a person, and it's you helping out a company or helping out and doing things that you enjoy doing. So it's actually a part of who you are as a person. So when I would approach people, I would still try and make the conversations genuine and not, hey, what do you do for a living and how can you help me? Let's like, hey, what? Oh, I find that really interesting. Like, can you tell me more? This is my experiences. These are my experiences with this, and tie it all in holistically instead of having it just be about work.
So we're kind of going back in time. You started with us late January. It's February. You're getting clear about your path that you want to take next. And something that we very, very, very heavily promote is the way forward is with other people. And you have to build relationships to do that. So is it like, because correct me if I'm wrong, before you joined with us, it didn't sound like you were really networking much at all or talking with other people about this.
Yeah, that's correct.
Can I ask, why do you think that was? Why do you think you weren't talking with others or reaching out?
I didn't know how, to be honest with you. Um, and in full disclosure, I grew up in a small town. I graduated with 70 kids in my class. I decided to stay local. Even my pharmacy school wasn't really that. I mean, Albany College of Pharmacy and Health Sciences is a relatively big school, but it's still small in the scale. So we were, and I always was really focused on trying to get through that process. And then after school and training, it was work and it was developing a family. And really, I didn't make that a priority of meeting new people and keeping and building a professional network. So it wasn't that I didn't feel comfortable, but my networks were really built within my respective jobs and my small world that I lived in at the time.
Yeah.
So trying to put myself out there, I really didn't know how.
So how'd you figure it out? How did you start reaching out?
So the Happy Farm D community helped me a lot. I mean, and I think that's one of the things that I, many things that I love about the program is it's really truly a community of individuals that really want to help each other out. And, it's genuine. It's a group of genuine people that truly care about one another, that want to lift each other up. And um, one thing that was really nice and speaking in some of the workshops and speaking with Liz is they would you get you would give us names of individuals like, hey, this person may help you out, or try and reach out to this person, and then reaching out to those individuals, they would welcome me with open arms. There was not one person I reached out to that did not want to talk, and that was what was wonderful. And then on top of that, working with LinkedIn and reaching out that way as well, and expanding my professional network through meeting new individuals on that platform was also very helpful. So again, just putting myself out there and being comfortable with the uncomfortable.
That makes me feel warm and fuzzy inside. The community is growing. We're now like at 1,400 people, which is kind of shocking. And I'm really proud that that's how others treated you. So that's wonderful. But obviously, there's 300,000 pharmacists plus in the United States. There's a lot of people that aren't in the community. We really do recommend LinkedIn as the easiest platform to connect with others. So you're in the program, you're starting to connect with people. I imagine you're as well, like researching companies at this point, or is it mainly people too?
Both actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I really try to tie companies with my own professional and personal goals in terms of where I want to go, because I don't feel if those conflict, then your chances of success are, I don't want to say they're nil, but it's going to be difficult. It's going to be difficult if those things don't align. So trying to find and meet individuals within those specific companies, trying to meet individuals with common goals and common characteristics is always very good. And that's the other thing too, is when you try to reach out to individuals, there's going to be individuals that are just not going to want to reach back out. But my recommendation is to always keep trying and to always don't give up. Don't give up, because there's those people out there that do truly want to help and that do truly want to build relationships as well.
There are. It's funny how people convince themselves that no one wants to talk to them.
Yeah.
But you get out there, you start networking, and at some point in your research of companies and meeting people, you find this company. So did you do it through a job board, LinkedIn, a person, job referral? What was that like?
So interestingly enough, I had so I'm a member of HOPA. I'm an actively involved member of HOPA. And I put my resume and built my profile on their platform. And I actually had a recruiter give me a call. And through that process, the recruiter asked me, "Hey, would it be okay if the hiring manager reached out to you?" I said, "Yeah, absolutely. That's no problem at all whatsoever." And they explained to me, what the job entailed. And I was like, that sounds interesting, but Florida's an awfully far away from New York, and that would be a big move. And there's a lot of things that are happening in New York with my spouse going to school, etc. But nonetheless, so I said, yeah, absolutely. Please have her give me a call. So the hiring manager gave me a call, and we just had a good, genuine conversation. And we talked about the company, talked about what was needed, talked about the role itself, and it was very exciting to me. And we we even just got into talking about operations. We got into talking about clinical research and what the organization was doing. And I left the call feeling very excited, and not only feeling very excited, but feeling very connected to that hiring manager after the phone call. And it was a wonderful experience. It was really great.
How did the Career Accelerator Coach program prepare you for that conversation? Because if I remember correctly, I remember a conversation you and I had in a workshop where we talked about how you had this very big roadblock of if I go to something else, is it just going to be the same thing? Am I going to be treated the same way? Because it seems like everyone puts up a front and a face, right? And it goes against like your genuine nature, right? Like you talked about that big roadblock stopping you. So how did we prepare you for that conversation with the recruiting manager? Or, I'm sorry, the hiring manager.
Really just being myself and having confidence in myself and my accomplishments and what I've done, and having confidence in myself as a person. Because I think one thing, especially when you're going through a really hard time with work, with me, it was, um, like I said, it was really hard for me mentally at my job. Um, and there were times where, again, do I really want to do this? Is this something that do I feel like I'm making a difference? So you really start to doubt yourself as a person and as a professional, and in what you're able to do after all those years of training and all of the things that you've been able to do, good or bad, and learn from, and etc. And being able to really go through the process and working with Liz, it really helped me again reframe and realize and solidify these are great things that I've done. These are good things that I have. These are, and not only that, but these are truly my interests. Going back to those personality tests that I took, and really trying to hone in on what are my personal and professional interests. Where do I really work well? And I really strongly believe that once I figured that out, I was able to connect with this individual who was very similar in nature, in a job that aligned very well with what I wanted to do. And it really just, I mean, I think genuine excitement really portrays out, that energy really portrays. And I think in our conversation, it did that. And I think that's really what ended up leading to the success story.
Awesome. That's so encouraging to hear. I remember in a early on conversation that was like, Alex laden with guilt of like, if I leave, this whole place is going to crumble. And I remember thinking like, that's not your fault. That's not your responsibility. You don't run the company. You're not, sitting in Havana sipping on Mai Tais, taking all the profits from the organization. You're working like, you know, as hard as you can. You're doing your best, and it's not your responsibility. And oh man, you're free. But before we jump to that, so you go through the interview process. You get invited to, I think the first it was a remote one, and I remember the feeling that you described was like, ugh, they felt a little critical. Like I remember a bad vibe from that first one. Am I remembering that right?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So it was virtual. It was a virtual meeting, and it was kind of, I want to say it was kind of awkward. And again, that's probably more personal towards me, because I like to have conversations with individuals. I'm more of a face-to-face type person. I don't mind virtual discussions. Or virtual interviews. That's not bad for me at all. But I don't feel like you can. I feel like you can genuinely connect with a group of people, especially if these are individuals that you're going to be in the daily trenches with. That uh, face-to-face conversation is more genuine. But that's me personally.
And
Um,
it was like a panel, right? Like people were like grilling you like they were on a high council, and you're like on
yeah,
trial, right?
you got
Yeah,
it.
movies like that stink.
Yeah.
You don't work well.
No, and I'll round back with that, but it's kind of funny because one of my colleagues now at the new job, he had even said that was totally awkward, that interview. Like just looking, like having you on this big screen and then having us all sit around this boardroom table, like that must have felt really terrible. I'm like, yeah, it did. It didn't feel very good.
Mm.
But nonetheless, yeah, I didn't feel like it went I felt like my answers to their questions were spot on, and I really and I had worked with Liz in preparing for that interview, and and ensuring that, I was as ready as I possibly could be. And I did feel like I answered their questions very well, but the vibe, like the energy in itself, just I didn't feel like was very good. And that's like you said, I just kind of had that feeling of like, like this could have like I didn't feel like there was anything within my control that I could have done that would have made it better, but it was more or less the setting.
Yeah. It and I remember a group discussion about this, and it was something like maybe I'm wrong, but I remember the vibe of like you saying like I don't know if I would want to interview there again.
Yeah. So there was some questions necessarily thrown around about, because I'd asked questions about metrics, and my goal was ultimately to try and understand, well, how are they supporting their staff, and how are they ensuring that they're going, if the workload gets to be too much, how are they going to advocate for additional FTEs?
Right. Yes, because
And
that was your pain in your current position.
right,
Um,
and they couldn't answer the question. And I wasn't sure why. I didn't want to speculate as to why, but they they tiptoed around the question, and there were other questions that they did with that as well. And yeah, it was
yeah, they do
really,
that.
and that was really one of my. That was a very important question to me. It was very important because again, I didn't want to uproot a job that yes, I didn't feel comfortable in. But I didn't also want to go from one bad situation to another. And that,
And
yeah, so
the distinct memory I have was telling you, did they offer you a job? You said no, and I said, well, then you have nothing to worry about.
yep, I remember that.
Keep pursuing, right? If
Yep,
they ask you to an interview, why not?
yep,
It's a dome. It's good practice at the very least,
yep,
right? So they asked you to a second interview. They flew you out to Florida from New York. You obviously it was a much better experience than the previous one, the remote interview.
yes.
Um, any did your red flags go away after that interview?
To be honest with you, they did. They
Mm.
did. It was uh, a completely different vibe. So I walked in, I got to meet everybody that was in the interview panel, and in full transparency, in the Zoom interview, I couldn't even see anybody's faces. It was still kind of blurry. So getting to meet these people face to face, again, I do better with that. So
Yeah.
for me was better because I could make that connection with those individuals.
Mm.
And I got to see the organization. I got to actually speak and ask more in-depth questions, and was able to get a little bit more of a context of what the culture was like. And I'll never forget it. And this individual, there were actually a couple individuals, but during the interview, I went in to meet the group of people that I would be working in the trenches with on a day-to-day basis. And one of them actually pulled me out into the hallway and he said, Alex, like we really like you're awesome, man. And we want you here. But I want to ask, do you have any questions that you don't feel like you could ask in an interview panel? So I
Whoa.
was like, oh,
Whoa.
well, so is this a trap? Um, but nonetheless, he asked me like, and I just want you to feel comfortable here. I want you to feel like you're coming in and you're working with a group of people that you love working with. If you have any questions or any concerns at all, like I want to help address them. I really
Whoa.
do.
Whoa.
And he had said to me, and that's when he said to me, I didn't really feel like the Zoom interview in the beginning. It was very awkward type of situation, but we want you here. We could sense the excitement. We know that you are going to bring a lot here. Um,
Yeah.
what can I help answer that you may have questions about or have concerns about? And to me,
That's
that meant everything. That
mm.
meant everything. And yeah, him and I were, I think it is no surprise that like him and I are pretty good friends now. So
Mm.
yeah,
That's
and
so cool, man.
the group of individuals too, like again, they were a lot more receptive to in person than via the Zoom. So
So you fly out to Florida, and I think I remember selling you on the opportunity by specifically saying, like, how would you like a week of like 60 and 70-degree weather right now in the middle of, you know, New York March? So you get away, you experience it, you come back, you're like, wow, okay. And then what was it, like a week or two later, they send you the offer letter?
yep,
Uh,
that's correct.
So they sent you the offer, and as a part of the program, a lot of people don't even take advantage of this, but they very few people want to negotiate. They often just want to take the, you know, it's kind of like a what are those things called? A life raft, or
Yeah.
like a what are those circle things called? I can't think of it. When you're on the ship and they life vest, it's a
A life
circle.
buoy. Yeah.
I don't.
I can't remember.
Clearly, I'm not good today on my Saturday. Anyways, you know, they often take it and think like, I'll do anything. Um, so you get the offer and you work with Liz to figure out what do I actually want. So,
Mhm.
you know, feel free to share as little or as much that you want, but they offer you initially. What did you actually want to negotiate for more?
So really, for me, it was about flexibility. It was about ensuring that I could live a life that I wanted to live in terms of not necessarily being married to my job and having a good PTO structure, um, and also being able to support my family in the highest degree possible. I think it's no surprise to everybody right now that the pharmacy profession, it's really difficult to advocate for more money, and a lot of that has to do with our reimbursement model. But nonetheless, without getting too much into detail about that, money and being able to support my family was a big thing. And also, too, how in the heck am I going to move down to Florida from New York? And that's an expensive endeavor. So, trying to negotiate the potential for any type of relocation incentive as well was really important to me because that's a lot of money out of pocket to move down to a new role that you're not even sure may or may not work out. But
So
um,
they offered you the job. They told you the
yep,
salary. Was there an initial bonus or relocation package?
no, there was nothing. No. So and I was scared to ask, to be honest with you, like you said, because you're in a bad situation. You find a job that you're like, oh my gosh, I have a really good feeling about this. And you don't want them to take the offer away. So you're sitting there grappling with that decision. But I felt like I owed it to myself and my family to be able to advocate for myself. So working with Liz and we're in talking to my wife, trying to figure out how to make this work. I ultimately submitted a rebuttal offer asking for more hourly, a relocation incentive, and a sign-on.
Got it. So you asked for a bonus, a relocation thing, and for more money. And did you get those things?
I did, yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Are you willing to share how much more? If not, I'll go back.
Yeah, so it's actually about $9 more per hour, and the relocation incentive covered my entire trip down here, and the sign-on bonus was um, oh just under 5 grand.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
You easily pay for the program just by negotiating for
Yeah, yeah,
that. That's awesome. Congratulations.
thank you.
$9 an hour. That's is that 18 grand
Yeah,
more?
yeah.
And you almost thought about not doing it.
Yep.
Congratulations, Alex.
Thanks.
On a scale of 1 to 10 in your previous job, how would you have rated like your life overall? 10 being like, I'm living my dream life, everything is going awesome, I'm loving work, I'm loving life. One being, this is absolute hell, nothing could get worse.
It's definitely below a 5. I'd give it about a 3 or 4. Yeah,
And
in my
now,
previous job.
and now,
And now I would say it's close to a 9, 8 or a 9. The only thing that is making it difficult is I had to leave my
no, no, no,
family
no,
to
no,
go
no, no,
meet.
no, 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 no,
Okay.
no, 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 no. I'm coaching you right now. No, 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 no.
Okay.
It's so funny. I asked you, how good is life right now? 9. Oh, but, no, 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 Alex. Sorry to
All
life
right.
coach you.
Yeah, no, it's
Take
wonderful.
it in. You're making
Yeah.
more money. You're loving your work. You found something that's amazing. Yeah, of course, life could be better, but like,
Yeah.
no, no, man, enjoy it. You worked hard for this. You
Yeah, no,
deserve that.
it's definitely, I'd say it's it's the best. I can tell you right now, I've been a pharmacist now for over 10 years. This is the best that I've felt in 10 years.
How does that? How does that make you feel right now?
To be honest with you, so I'm going to give you a little context. I went back home to New York to visit my family, and I still have friends at my previous job, and I went back to say hello. Every single one of them said, Alex, I've never seen you this happy. Like, you are literally glowing. You seem like a completely different person. And even my parents, my wife, I feel like Alex again. And I haven't felt like Alex since I can't even tell you the last time since I graduated from pharmacy school. And I feel like me again. This is truly how when when I wanted to go and was going into pharmacy school and was going through the curriculum, this is what I envisioned. And going through that grind of what I had went through and questioning, is pharmacy really the path for me to where I am now? It's night and day, and it feels amazing.
Um, Anything that you would tell someone who's maybe considering working with us?
Dive all in, embrace the program, and don't be afraid to go outside of your comfort zone. And it's going to be hard work. You're going to have to put time in, but don't be afraid to do it because the end result is 100% worth it. You put in too much time, too much effort in what you have done up until this point in your life, in your career, in your pharmacist professional journey or whatever journey you're on. You are worth more than you know, and you will find the right opportunity out there. I promise you that.
Beautiful. I don't think I could end it any better than what you shared. Um, what stick around, Alex, because I want to invite you something after this. But
Sure.
for anyone else who's watching up to this point, I'd love to start the same journey with you, like Alex did. In a few days, I will be posting a Choose Your Next Pharmacy Career Path challenge. I am going to attempt to share my screen, and I think it'll work. Yeah. This is a challenge that's totally free to attend. It's June 23rd through the 26th at 7:30 p.m. Eastern for an hour. We're going to help you get clarity over 4 days about what you should do next in your career. It's the first thing that Alex did. It's the first thing that we help people with. This is totally free, and it's like a week packed of action and transformation, as well as meeting other pharmacists on the same journey as you. Um, we've already done this challenge once, and the people from it have gotten new jobs, new interviews, started new projects. It's so cool to see where they are now. And some of them will be joining this challenge. It's 4 days. Just got to click the link and you'll join our community that's here, where we talked about previously. Again, it's totally free to attend. And if you even want to get a jump start on it, all of our courses now are completely free. We don't charge anything for our coursework, from interviewing to career paths to cover letters, resumes. We have templates in there. We believe all education should be free because we're living in an age now where information is running freely. So we would love to have you be a part of that challenge. It is time, so be sure to grab your spot, as we only have 500 spots available, and last time they went very, very quickly. So join us, and we would love to help you make your next career move. Thanks again to Alex for being here today, and thank you for watching his story. I was at the beginning of this, I was like, oh, it's Saturday morning, and I was feeling a little bit rusty, just Saturday morning grooves, and now I'm feeling very, very excited for the future, for him, for me, and for you as well. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.